Lil Baby is arguably one of the most popular rap acts in the world currently. With ridiculous streaming numbers, big collab features, and YouTube views that will give the biggest stars a run for their money, Lil Baby has proved to the music industry and the world that he's here to stay, and not just as a regular rapper. Lil Baby's out to become a superstar. Despite being fresh, Lil Baby is no stranger to the rap game. The rapper has spent a lot of time around some of the biggest names in the industry as a friend. Despite all of his fame and his obvious fortune, Lil Baby never lets us forget that he's still the hustler that he was on the come up. In this video, we'll look at the rapper's sentencing and whether or not it's time to say goodbye to Lil Baby forever. Early life. Dominique Armani Jones, who's professionally known as Lil Baby, was born in Atlanta, Georgia in the Oakland City neighborhood. Lil Baby grew up around most of the same people that he hangs around now. Lil Baby was raised by a single mother along with his two sisters. Growing up, Lil Baby did not have a lot of money, and this means that his family was always faced with challenges. Lil Baby remembers growing up in the southwest area of Chicago and has compared his surrounding to growing up in the mud or the gutter. In an interview, Lil Baby mentioned that one of his toughest memories of growing up was coming home from school one day to find out that his family was being evicted. Growing up, Lil Baby explains that his rap name originates from his experience on the streets. Because the rapper always spent a lot of time on the streets, his mother was forced to go out to call him, and this led to a lot of older hustlers coining him the nickname Lil Baby. Lil Baby has mentioned that growing up, he was influenced by rappers like Tupac, Lil Wayne, and Diddy. Lil Baby never actually planned to be a rapper, it just kind of happened. Growing up in his neighborhood meant that Baby was constantly around much older hustlers. Some of the more popular figures in Lil Baby's life are Young Thug and Coach K, the owner of Quality Control, have been some of the most constant figures in Lil Baby's life. It was P who planted the seeds of becoming a rapper to Lil Baby while he was in jail. He used to run around my best friend Big, P says. Baby like my brother. While Baby was locked up, P began planting seeds. When he was in prison, I used to talk to him and tell him like, yo, when you come home, try to get in the studio and rap. P continues, I had a big influence in Baby switching over from the streets to the music. Legal battles. As a street hustler, Lil Baby was involved in several illegal activities including petty theft and peddling drugs. By the time Lil Baby was 12, he had experienced his first arrest. The rapper and his friends decided to break in and rob a house located in his Atlanta neighborhood. Before he and his friends had the chance to execute their idea, police pulled up and detained Baby and his friends. The cop questioned Lil Baby and determined that he and his friends intended to break in and burgle the house. For this crime, Lil Baby was locked up for just 10 days. From the time Lil Baby was 16 till he turned 17, the rapper was arrested multiple times for various crimes. For the most part, these arrests seem to be linked to the fact that the rapper had dropped out of school. Needed the money more than anything, he says. I knew all the drug dealers around my neighborhood. When I was like 10, 11, I was hanging out with a dude who was like 17. He was getting money to buy a car, having his own little spot. So he was a lot of my motivation too. Lil Baby was really into the street at this point, and by 17, the rapper was living in 2 condominiums. He said that he paid about $2,000 a month for each of them. Lil Baby even mentions that at one point, famous Migos rapper Offset was his roommate for a while and gave Lil Baby half of his 2-bedroom condo. Street life. In 2020, the law finally caught up to Lil Baby. The records of the crimes Baby was involved in between these years seem to be sealed off, but it is obvious that the rapper had become fully active in the streets by this time. The rapper, however, has mentioned in a few interviews that his arrest was almost always for the same 2 things, drugs and guns. Eventually, the rapper's activities attracted a probation sentencing. The rapper calmed down for a short period, but unfortunately, this wasn't enough. It wasn't long after that the rapper violated his probation and needed to get a lawyer. His first lawyer was able to minimize the rapper's sentence to 2 years. Fortunately, Baby believed that he could get a better deal, and he was right. Lil Baby's second lawyer was able to negotiate a 6-month program instead of 2 years in prison. Lil Baby's victory was short-lived, and before long, the rapper got into a scuffle with a fellow program attendee, which landed him in prison to serve his 2-year sentence. According to Lil Baby in an interview, He personally knew 20 people that were serving life sentences. He knew 5 of those 20 people as they are close friends of his. Whether you do everything I tell you to do, you're in here until you die. So you ain't living no other purpose until you die. Man, that's a f***ed up way to live. I'd rather everybody just, you get a life sentence and they just take you in the back and kill you. I guarantee you, you ask half of the people who got a life sentence if they'd rather be taken out back right now and killed, they'll say yeah, guaranteed. Because what are you living for? When his mom was asked about what she felt as Lil Baby was sent to jail, she had this to say: "Hardest thing I've ever had to see in my life. I hope and pray I never have to go through anything like that again." She visited him every weekend during his sentence, and she distinctly remembers a conversation that would ultimately change their lives. He had called home. We talked like we always talk, and I asked him what was his plan when he got out. He was like, "Mom, I want to be a rapper." I was like, "A rapper? Really?" You know how when people go away, they say anything? But the day he came home, he went to the studio and it took off after that. Lil Baby had decided to leave the streets at this point, but the perks of the streets were still very tempting to him. Music career. Lil Baby has enjoyed a very prominent career as a rapper. After the rapper's first release from prison, he teamed up with some of his childhood friends to release his first mixtape titled Perfect Timing. The rapper's first studio session was paid for by Young Thug, who had always believed in Lil Baby and wanted to see him rap. The mixtape was received positively, and just like that, Lil Baby had launched his career. In 2017, the Atlanta rapper dropped a number of different projects, including Harder Than Hard, The Hard Way, which was a joint body of work with Marlo, and then